Welcome back. Joined by Sumant Sinha, Chairman, CII Renewable Energy Council. Also, he's the Chairman and Managing Director of Renew Power Limited. Sunil Alag, Independent Business Consultant. Vikram Kirloskar, Vice Chairman, Toyota Kirloskar Motor, past President, CII. But let me start with Manish Tiwari, who is of the Congress Party. Thanks, Manish. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks, Manish, for joining us. Manish, your thoughts. I don't know if you had a chance to hear Amitabh Kant, who said this is a bold budget. Don't prejudge it. Execution is key, but it is full of bold ideas.
Well, Vasu, it's a sell-off budget. You see, there is a 18 lakh 48,000 crore hole in the budget. And so therefore, if you study the budget closely, there are 3 paragraphs which are central to the budget. That's para 47, which deals with asset monetization, para 84, which deals with disinvestment, and with para 89, which deals with, again, monetization of what they call idle assets. So essentially, the entire focus is how to really plug the hole. The rest is a lot of fluff. For example, the whole bit about the national infrastructure pipeline, and this is exactly a repeat of what the finance minister had said in a previous budget also. So therefore, insofar as bold ideas are concerned, well, I don't see a single bold idea which is going to take the economy back to the growth trajectory of 8 to 9%, at which the UPA had kept it for 10 long years, year on year. So therefore, there is a fundamental issue with this budget. And therefore, I think the finance minister should have been, very up and straight and said that, look, we've gone through a very difficult time. We've had a budgetary deficit which has increased. And so therefore, we need to plug this hole. You go ahead and impose cess on fuel and diesel, on petrol and diesel, and you do not even whisper it in the budget. You try and hide it in the fine print of the budget. And even insofar as health allocations are concerned, you club a lot of stuff together just to give a big whole number. But if you really break it down, the allocation hardly goes up from 73,000 to 79,000 crores.
Right.
On defense, you have such a volatile situation on the border with China. In real terms, you have a decrease of defense expenditure rather than an increase.
Right. So you're saying there is, okay. Vikram Kirloskar, I know that you've been largely bullish about this budget, but how would you respond to that? That there is no real bold idea other than just trying to sell off the government silver, which is, again, not a new idea.
Well, I think I've been more bullish about the economy and country in general because very, very simple. If I look at the last 10 months when we started this situation, I was frankly very scared. How are we going to survive this whole COVID pandemic if more and more people get infected? And we have really come out of it because of the leadership, because of the people of India. Everyone going in the same direction. And we are doing, even with such low healthcare spend compared to some developed countries. If you look at our numbers, they look much better than theirs in terms of the COVID situation.
Right.
Now, the thing I said I like about going ahead is that it is more predictable. For us to do investment, for us to increase our investment, predictability of policy and stability of policy is most important.
Okay.
Yes, there is a shortage of money. It is bound to be there after the situation, and there is some glide path for recovery.
Okay. All right. So that's your sort of take, Sumant Sinha. Would you also agree that in some ways, not rocking the boat and not being disruptive is actually one of the merits of the budget, even though we were told to expect this, unbelievable budget of the kind we've not seen before?
No, look, I think that's not being fair to the FM. She's tried her best in a difficult situation. And I think that the government has chosen a very specific thrust, and that thrust is really to focus on infrastructure development. And therefore, if you see the number of things that they've talked about and announced, it's actually a very impressive list. And I would say that if you had to pick one area which the government has chosen, I think it is this area. And, for example, they've talked about setting up the DFI, which is meant to distribute 5 lakh crores over the next 3 years. So If you look at the distribution sector reforms, another 3.05 lakh crores allocated to that. These are fairly far-reaching, and I've just picked two as an example.
Sure.
These are fairly far-reaching changes, right? And so I think it's unfair to say that the FM hasn't done anything. Now, of course, the reality is we're looking at a 9.5% fiscal deficit this year for obvious reasons. We all know what they are, right? And she's tried to make the best out of that by trying to guide us to a 6.8% next year. And of course, they have to raise money from various sources. Raising taxes at this point is not really a sensible thing to do.
Okay, so the only option was to, okay.
Which is to sell whatever they can monetize, whatever assets they can monetize.
Right. Fair enough.
And the good thing only is that they've been working on these things for the last 2-3 years. So the chances are that this year some of those things are actually going to go through. And so the question is whether. So I think from that standpoint, it's perfectly fair.
Okay, perfectly fair. Sunil Alagh, though at the time when you needed something that could stimulate and boost the economy in real terms, also revive animal spirits, you really think this budget went far enough?
Look, I mean, I had put down three main areas in the morning. One was jobs, the other was inflation, and the other was to encourage spending. So I give it 10 on 10 on creating jobs, because with expenditure on infra, I'll tell you how. If you're going to build ports and if you're going to build roads and you're going to give jobs to all the people, then that's the only way the government could do it. The rest is left to industry. 1 second. Where could the government have created the jobs unless they spent money? Let me finish and then you can ask me the questions. On infrastructure, I've given it 8.5 out of 10 on the full budget. Why do I reduce it from 10 on 10 to 8.5? I will tell you. It's because spending, they have ignored 300 million of the middle income group completely. They are expecting that because they're going to create jobs at the lower end, those people are going to spend in rural areas, and that is what is going to create demand. They have worked on Say's law right from the beginning. In economics was that you take care of the supply side, that will lead to demand increase. I have been a firm believer on the Keynesian model, and therefore spending was required. I don't mean put money into the hands of the middle income group. I don't mean increase taxes or decrease taxes. I mean that you should have incentivized expenditure. When I talk about incentivizing expenditure, I mean if you need people, your airlines are in trouble, your hotels are in trouble, your restaurants are in trouble.
Yes.
Tell people that if you spend in that area, you will get a tax benefit. If you don't spend at all, then you don't get the tax benefit. But they've done, and they've ignored the 300 million. Look, even the vice chairman of Niti Aayog has said, oh, it's a very small percentage. I'm not worried about the middle income group. He talks about Aam Aadmi. Aam Aadmi is below the middle income group. For me, 300 million is very, very important. And they are the ones which were looking for the last 2.5 years. Nothing has been done to them. Nothing has been done for them. And I'm a firm believer, don't put money into those their hands, because you know that they will save. They will save for a rainy day. I've got to keep it. But if you must encourage expenditure without any increase in cost, there wouldn't have been a main budget exercise taken, because their GST would go up. It would more or less pay for itself. If they had only done that, they would have done it. And 8.5 out of 10, I've reduced only from 10 on 10 to 8.5 on spending. They haven't, because inflation also, they haven't looked at all. Food inflation, petrol price increase, and they haven't looked at it.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. You're generally in the 8 to almost 10 on 10 range. We understand
No, not
that.
10 on 10. I'm not giving 10
almost
on 10.
10 on
I'm
10.
giving 10 on 10 only on jobs.
Only on jobs. Okay. Fair enough. I wish I could challenge you on some of that, but I'm told we have to take a break, and we've got some important interviews with the men behind the budget. That's coming up in just a moment from now.